Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Kay, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed, cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're going to Beverly Hills. To Beverly Hills. To what is the name of Bel Air? We're going to Bel Air, the front on the street front houses. And yeah, right? What is it? Isn't it Bel Air?
Rodeo?
Dorit. Oh, well, no. I was saying where Dorit was saying that Sutton lives, that she wouldn't want to live. And then Andy was like, you mean on Bel Air? Like, is it that bad? And Dorit was like, yes, that bad. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, I was referencing that. It's in the reunion because we're just doing the reunion.
I like
the other information. Thank you. It was a little bit of a deep grab.
I like it. I forgot.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's going to be, I have been to Rodeo Drive. I don't think I've been to Bel Air though. So it'll be, I would actually more like your reference anyway, because at least I've seen. Yeah, it would be nice to be in the sun, but you are in some sun, which I really love. So why don't we hop into some check-ins first, and then we'll hop on over to Beverly Hills for the reunions.
Yes. So I'm in the sun this week, and my check-in is that I love, so we're New Englanders. At this point in my life, I am a New Englander, but for like 5 months of the year, it's a little pale for your girl. And my vitamin D levels were pretty much in the toilet the instant, because I got in at night, the instant I stepped outside the next day and got the sun shining in my face, I suddenly felt so happy and that everything was fine. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I need this more because I've been like so happy all week.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were sick, you were supposed to go earlier. You usually go earlier. It's like your usual thing. But you got sick, so you weren't able to go. So this is like a late arrival. So much needed.
Yes, it's been awesome. And I'm happy to report that we saw lots of dolphins.
Yay! Live dolphins! We love it!
Any long-term podcast fans will know about the dead dolphins. Check in. Which was a little sad. That was on a New England beach. I have this bit with my soon-to-be father-in-law that Florida beaches are better than New England beaches.
Fair.
I just think everything in New England has to be hard, including having dead dolphins on a beach. So and Cape Cod is beautiful. I love Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And Florida beaches, you can just kind of park your car and walk like 0.1 miles versus a whole mile with all your shit and walk past dead dolphins and
and like a bunch of houses and totally.
Yes.
That's so true. So I'm also with you. I'm partial to Florida beaches.
Mm-hmm. We're not partial to Florida politics, but we're both partial to their beaches. And so, I have been high on sunshine pretty much all week, and it's been good.
Was that like a Glee episode or something where like people were like taking vitamin D? Like there was something where it's like you being used as like a drug. Okay, I don't know. This is weird. I wasn't realizing as I'm saying this out loud. Maybe it's not even Glee, but it was something like that. I could see it being Glee. Like they were taking vitamin D because it is like it's like it makes you happy. Like there's something about it that is really uplifting. That's great. I'm so glad you have that. And I also know it's the smells of it all, like the sea smell, and then like also just knowing that there's still gonna be more sunshine for longer. It's like. Here, it's like you don't know if it's going to start raining suddenly, and then although if it rains there, it just stops raining soon after, which is also great. Right. But here, it's like
a 20-minute.
Yeah. Today's been really miserable, so Like rain-wise.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. I'm happy. I'm vicariously living through your vitamin D. It's great.
It's like,
I'm seeing it. It's coming into my skin through the screen.
I burned the shit out of my skin the first day. I was like, can't burn. I was like, the one thing I've got to do is not burn because I'm getting married in a few weeks. Yeah. And then I go out there day one. I was spraying myself, but I didn't know you were supposed to rub the spray in.
Stop it. Just stop that. No, you did not. You did not know yourself? That's so sweet.
Growing up, we used 4. We were not sunscreen.
SPF 4. Yeah.
The 4 is like, you're really burnt. You got to but I'm paler now because I'm not in the sun as much because I live in New England. And so I don't really know how to do these things.
You don't know, right. You don't need to know. Right. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
And so I sprayed and I got so many weird burns on myself.
I hate that so much. It was like sort of like almost like reflecting it even really like, was it like where it was like wet or like in a circle? The other thing that reminds me of is like bug spray. Like you don't really need to do that with bug spray because it's just like the scent needs to be around you.
Right. I had no idea, but
that makes sense.
Alas, it was a mistake that I'm paid
so sorry. For. That's so crummy. It makes so much sense too because like we were raised with lotions, not sprays. There's that too. Right. Like lotions, we have to do that with. But yeah, I'm sorry that I reacted so strongly because it's so true. There's like 8 reasons why you wouldn't know that. But I'm just like, oh my God, I can't imagine. Yes, I can imagine. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. Yeah.
And I also don't really always read instructions. So that's a personal shortcoming.
It's like if all else fails, read the instructions.
Read the instructions.
Yeah. If all else fails, go first. Yeah, try that first. Try it out, then read it. Yeah, no, I definitely my family was like really unaware of like the severity of it. Like we would use like the tanning oil, like we were really like haphazard about it. I think the idea of like burning is like, first of all, you have a few weeks, so I think you'll be less burnt. You might even be brown, or like it might not even get you back. It might be better than if you hadn't in some ways. But then also now you can like kind of layer on top of it a little bit if it doesn't hurt.
That's right. Exactly. It's turning to tan now, which is nice. Is a good time.
I love it.
But yeah, it was a rough first day. But anyway.
Yeah, that hurts. It also wipes you out. You're like exhausted after that.
Yeah. I felt a little funny, but
yeah.
Moved through.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. You're still moving. You're still moving and grooving, and you're still having a good vacation, which is what matters.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Much needed. That's wonderful. We had commencement today, which was fun. And it's like really exciting. It's really fun. It's fun. There's like, I was like pausing on it because it's like there's a lot of things. Like there's emotions and it's nice. And then it's also, a little long always. But, today didn't feel that long. They kind of kept it moving with the speakers. And
that's amazing.
Everyone's always like impressed with how big that space is, which is cool. So everyone was really just happy and really, it was a nice vibe. Yeah. So I made a speech that went well. And then, yeah, so I was there quite a long time, but it was a lot of fun. It's also a good time for us as colleagues to like hang out rather than, because, it's like at work, we can't really like hang out. We hang out separately, and then I hang out with other people separately. And so do you. We both hang out with people separately, but we don't hang out at work. So like to be at a work thing and be able to hang out, it feels good. And it's nice. So it was a good time.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Sounds delightful.
Yeah. End of the semester. We were talking about that. We were like, can't wait for the end of the semester. Here we are. We have to still do evaluations, or I certainly do, but we're close.
I do too. I tried to get in there today and it was like down for scheduled maintenance. And I was like, I'm going to take a screenshot of this if anyone gives me shit. I tried.
That. Yeah. They're making a big fuss about it too. Like we have to get in on time because last time someone didn't, it actually like really messed with people's like transcripts. But anyway, this is irrelevant. Shit. But yeah, so I'm worried about that as well. I always like barely make it in, but I'm going to make it in. It's going to be fine. It's hard because we still work. Like we have work. We can't just like, we don't have time. It's not like we have now. And then we have meetings during the day time that we would normally be teaching. So it's going to be hard, but such is life. And now we're talking a lot about work. So I'd like to go back to talk about Florida, but actually we're going to go maybe to California anyway. So
exactly. Yeah. Which is another lovely place to vacation or be. Yeah.
It's so nice. So sunny, like at least in right parts of it. But yeah. I think, well, I guess all of it's sunny. I don't know, right? I actually have no idea. I'm assuming most of the parts of it that are particularly sunny is what I feel like I know.
Me too. I've only been to those parts. And I like that it's really warm during the day or like a good 70 something. And then during night, it gets kind of chilly. So you get like that little cozy sort of feeling. I like it.
Yeah, me too. That's also why it's a great time of year here too. Like when you get back, it's like that too. It's like really nice in the day and then a little chilly at night. Yeah. Shall we go to California? Okay, wait.
Let's
also, we're going to tell everybody things.
First Surf's up, dude.
Yeah, Surf's up. That's a fun one. That's funny. We're Right. Yeah. And then, but like this, because this is also like I was learning about this, right? Like aloha, like in Hawaii, they do this for like aloha or whatever.
Yes.
And it's a way of saying like hello and goodbye, and also like peace be with you, peace be with you kind of thing, but whatever. But then also I remember that when I was a kid, that was like surfs up, like from California. So
Right.
is that, yeah, right? So.
And Cowabunga and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mhm,
Maybe I got that from Rocket Power or something.
No, I feel like I learned that too separately without any like cultural, but maybe the people who taught me that though did. So who knows? Kind of funny how those things happen, right? Like, and they shift and change depending on how they get transported to other places. So yeah, that was gonna be my reference to California, but that's also really a Hawaii reference. So we're gonna
Love
do
it.
that. Oh yeah, here's two things. One, we're therapists, but not these people's therapists. We don't know them personally, so we can't diagnose them. We might talk about diagnostic things, but we don't know for sure. And also, we're not your therapists, which is something ethically we're required to say. So there that is. And the other thing is, we're gonna do the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. There were 3 parts to this reunion, so we're gonna do the first 2 parts of it now, and then the next episode will have the 3rd part of it, because there's just a lot more that happened in the 3rd part, and it needs its own area in the speaking that we do. So that's what we're gonna do there. And then these are much briefer. So yeah, I love it. We're gonna go back and forth. Shall we get started? Does that sound good?
We shall. Yes,
Okay.
let's do it.
So the first of all, reunions as always start with like the glam squads and like sort of introducing everybody. Like, Andy will go through and be like, this person, how's this thing? Like, how's that thing? I always get a little bit like funny about it, because he some people he'll just like ask a question to like say something quick and he'll just move on. But like other people, they have like a little bit banter. But anyway, that happened. Then we started right away with focus on Dorit, which I think says a lot, because first of all, she's in the first chair. She never moves from that chair. Kyle never moves from the other one, to be fair too. But so they also spend a lot of time on her. We kind of come back and forth to her a lot. I think it's just really relevant to the fact that she did have a good year this year. And I started out still feeling like harboring some feelings from previous seasons, but she really just did a great job. I think she did a great job this season. So I'm on board with that. He introduces her recap as Dorit's glow up from Dior wearing to table lunging, and then makes her watch a montage that started with PK's speech professing the love of her, which we already saw in the season and also felt awful, by the way. Like the first time that happened, I was like, what the fuck? But then they showed that at the beginning of the montage and sort of ended the montage with both of them telling people what's wrong between them.
Mm-hmm. I had if producers were psychologists, they would not do this, because I cannot imagine like with an ex watching all the going through like a rough divorce or separation. I forget where they are, but like having to look through all the happy times. Like that is a tough and
hang. Also the hard times too, like the beginning of their separation. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's cruel. It really is quite cruel.
It is cruel. And I also think like they have them watch it too, like on the little screens that are like on the side. And like, what if Dorit had made the choice not to watch those episodes where PK was talking about, I mean, I'm sure she did and would want to, but what if she had decided not to or something? It's like now you're going to make her watch that right here. Like, it just feels really, we were just talking about this idea of like cognitive assault, like this idea that like if you, even though it's not like physical, if someone like makes you watch something or makes you say something or makes you hear something, not say something necessarily, makes you hear a thing, or if you just make them think about a certain thing, if somebody makes you think a certain thing in your head, then that's kind of like cognitive assault. Like you don't have a choice. You had to go there now because someone created this image or someone said this thing without your consent.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're there. So, I think that's kind of relevant here. It's like kind of a type of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really well observed. I think cognitive assault is the vibe. Like she doesn't have a choice. She's contractually obligated probably to do this thing. Ugh.
Yeah. And to watch it, at least hear it, because, she can't do that. I guess she could cover her ears, but she can't really, because she's being watched on TV. So like she really can't. She has to react a certain way. I mean, like people feel that they do, which is fair, right? Like they have to worry about their image. So what I really liked, and I have a segment on this too, is the next part, which is when they were talking about Dorit smoking in the car. I just really enjoyed that. Like, first of all, the image of her smoking was like kind of just like everyone really. I like that people liked it, because it is sort of just like seeing her doing something that we've never seen her do, and that was just sort of like she was so like laissez-faire about it. She just like sort of like brought a cigarette out in her car and just started smoking, and so I liked that Andy brought it up too. He's like, people loved being able to see you smoke, and then she said, "I've been a social smoker and I became a stress smoker," and then part of what I also thought was important is like a lot of people watching these shows at this age, like we grew up watching TV and movies where it was cool to smoke. So it's like we can't really help it. Right. We can't help that it's like imagery that we find cool. So no wonder that was a thing people reacted well to. And then someone was like, well, did you think, someone was like, well, you don't think, if she was in her car, like you would think she wouldn't think she's going to be seen. Like not everything makes it on. You'd be surprised how much doesn't make it on. You would think that she would think that it's not. And she goes, no, I assume everything's going to be seen. I just didn't give a fuck.
Love that for her. Maybe that's a part of her energy that has helped her. That is when people don't give a fuck, they seem cooler and they're a little less self-focused, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Is that what it was? Yeah. Or almost like more so in some ways. Like she's less focused on how people see her. She's more focused on how she feels. And I think that's the big deal. It's like this balance between your subjective experiencing and others' objective images of you. Like, do you care more about how people are seeing you or do you care more about how you feel? And I think she has always been so concerned with objective images of her. And yet, like, who cares? Because we suck, like the audience sucks. We don't. Right. There's so many people who have no clue. We have no clue what she's going through. We have no clue, and or how she gets her clothes or whatever she's renting them. Who cares? It's like, so I think her deciding I don't care anymore. Like I just want to take care of myself and my kids is definitely what would make it look kind of cooler and also happen to be healthier, frankly.
Yeah.
So that is really lovely. I kind of put that under something I've mentioned before because I thought I mentioned it to you, but I might have mentioned it to my husband. But I did mention this at the time. I was like, I kind of love it. And then I kind of have like, that's like a recurring theme is that I did talk about the idea, definitely with you. Now I'm wondering if it was on the recording or not, but definitely at some point I said to you too, like I was feeling sort of like mixed about Dorit at first, but like I'm really starting to buy in to her. And so that's something I just have mentioned before. So I'm giving her that one.
Yeah. Yay, Dorit.
Yes. Good job, Dorit. So Kyle, not to like, doesn't just delete. Okay. Whoa. And actually, let me stop right there. There's still a caveat when I talk about Dorit, like in my head, and I should have said it out loud, that like she definitely has said racist shit. Like she has absolutely said racist shit. She's also been very like condescending towards PK, and I've seen that as well. Like I understand there are pieces of her, parts of her that are not well honed yet, that could use some work. And I think the racism in particular is really problematic. And how she was towards Garcelle, I think really problematic. The conversation they had at the like thing, the spa day, I thought was a great start. So I was happy about that, but I didn't see it like blossom into anything. And so to me, that was useless and in fact, useless because she needed to follow up with Garcelle. That was where the onus lands. And she didn't, as far as I can tell. And so that's a bummer. It seems like they're still not good with each other. And I get that from Garcelle's side, but it's just crummy when Dorit seemed like she wanted to try to repair it, that she didn't actually, follow through on that.
Right.
So like those parts are still 100% true. I like her in response to PK right now. I like how she is in response to that, but I don't like that she's not working on the racism thing for herself.
I think Garcelle sensed Dorit genuinely apologizing when they had that sort of moment. I think she could tell that it wasn't all the bullshit, all the defensiveness, and it was like, okay, we're actually getting somewhere. But since there was no follow-up on that, then it's empty words. And that sucks.
Exactly. And even like, then it makes it harder to then believe it in the future because then she, it's like, now I've seen you. I thought I could believe that was real, but you didn't follow up. So now I just won't trust you again, ever, that you mean it. That's too bad. I really feel for Garcelle, which we'll come back to. But so Kyle agrees with Andy's question that she felt like Dorit was coming in hot to save her job. And then she goes, at least at first. And then she sort of trails off, but like never comes back to that thought or like finishes that like she doesn't feel that way anymore. Like she never says like, but now I don't. Or so she definitely kind of still feels that way. Yeah. I think she feels like Dorit was coming in hot to save her job. And frankly, like Dorit got bad ratings or whatever, right? Like I was going to say Rex, but that's not it. Bad rating. She had a bad rep at the end of last season. People were like, no, thank you. This is the worst. And I also agreed. I was like, I'm not here for it. I don't like it. Especially just how she treated herself. I just was out. So I get that. She might have felt in part inspired by that, but I don't think that's the whole thing. I genuinely don't. I think she also literally is like coming into herself because she's not just PK's wife anymore. And I imagine PK honestly had a big influence on how she was in the world because he really cares about how everything looks. Yeah. You can tell he really does. So I bet he had that influence over her, and not being with him anymore, she gets to be like, fuck it. I get to be who I want then. Like,
I'm good.
If we're not doing that. Yeah. So I don't like that. I didn't like how Kyle said the thing to her at the time either. Like said the thing to us at the time where she was like, I don't get this. This isn't Dorit. Like she's just trying to make him look bad or whatever. So I don't agree with Kyle about Dorit's being totally related to that. And I also believe that PK really is a bit of a monster. It has been like that with her. So
I agree.
And then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me.
Totally. I think that PK, I agree, is very image focused. And during that dinner, every time he was filmed, he really tried to make himself look good. It is clear to me that there is a discrepancy between what he says to her and how he presents himself too, that like even that note he wrote, it's clear that to her, he's been very like close and interpersonal, and he will throw her under the bus the first chance he gets, which sucks. Like that's the mother of his
Like a
kids,
brat.
and they clearly still talk and love each other. And it's just, he shouldn't treat her that way. Like
Right.
that was,
Well, I think he's doing both. I think he's doing both to her too. Like I think he's sometimes awful to her too.
mhm.
And then sometimes he's really loving again. And then she's like, oh, maybe, and then no, and then oh, maybe, and then no. I mean, it's very interesting behavior. But it just, yeah, I feel for Dorit in that. Also, the closeness sucks if like ultimately you're not saying anything about getting back together, or like if he's, 'cause she says that later that he hasn't said anything about that, but like
Oh,
clearly still feels close with him. So it's sort of like it feels very leading on.
poor thing. I think people would
I don't
probably
like that.
think because she's so beautiful and he's not, that their relational dynamic. Well, I guess the money or whatever. I don't know what their shit
Well, he was
was.
like famous too when they met. Like now she's famous, but he was at first. So I
Yeah.
think he always had the power in the relationship, and I think he's threatened by the fact that she has her own power now for sure. But,
Ooh, I like that. I think that makes a lot of
yeah.
sense to what this switch has been. But
Yeah. Yeah. And they brought that up a little bit in the reunion at one point. They were like talking about her being threatened, him being threatened by her fame, just in general. But like it's like it's more, I think the contextual piece of it is like he was already kind of famous, but he was adjacent to famous because he wasn't himself a musician. He was working with famous musicians. So his only fame came from going out with them, like going out with, Karma Chameleon or Boy George and stuff, going out with them, Karma Chameleon with Boy George. So like that's his only way to get to fame, but that is more famous than Dorit was at the time. So to
yeah,
Dorit, that was so exciting that he would go out with those people or have them over for parties or whatever. And so, but then now that she has her own fame to work with, it's like I think he still at first tried to like keep her under his wing, and then was drinking because he was uncomfortable, and then once he started to get sober, was sort of like, well, maybe I don't like how we are anyway. And she probably anyway, doesn't matter. It just, yeah, there's like a whole, I think the power thing is a huge part of what happened between them and is still a problem.
hmm and her not being so sparkly because she went through a horrific trauma where her kids' lives and her life was at risk. Like what the actual fuck?
I hated how he responded to the trauma thing. I also feel like I don't, I actually, in some ways, actually kind of low key agree with Garcelle. Like, I know it's like, that's a crummy thing to say, and I would never say it to
I
Dorit.
do
Like, that is a
too.
choice, but, right?
When
I kind
she
of feel like,
said
isn't
it,
it?
I was like, that makes sense.
I know. I
I
was like,
was
PK did it, right? I was like, because listen to this. Like, he needed money to keep up her lifestyle. Mauricio was the only other person whose house got broken into. They're best friends. Their wives were both home. They're like, I think Dorit wasn't meant to be there. Like, I believe that. I think she was not supposed to be there. And that's what Garcelle said the first time she brought this up. But like, so then, because the way that PK was so defensive about it with her later about the trauma, like, you need to get over it. This isn't just a trauma. Like, you're being annoying or whatever. The way he was like crying and making it all about him when he came back from London and then just kept going back to London anyway. Like, even though she was deeply traumatized still at home, the way that they left the phone at the door, the way that they reacted to her when she was like saying she has kids and stuff, like they knew the kids were there and they weren't going to fuck with the kids. You know what I mean? It's like, the whole deal. I think they needed the insurance money, and the fact they didn't take everything. They needed the insurance money, and he thought that she wouldn't be there, and then it would have been fine. I think they were surprised when they found her. I don't know. It's just like,
Can you imagine what
to
else
me, that
he's
makes so
in?
much sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was shady. I think when Garcelle first said it, she should have clarified that she did not think Dorit was
Yes.
involved. And the fact that she didn't do
Yes.
that was kind of mean to Dorit because
Right,
that,
and then that put Dorit on her heels. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
to be fair, to be
Yeah. Put her in a bad
absolutely
spot.
fair, that I think that was kind of a low blow. And I can, because of what Dorit did to Garcelle, I can understand why she went there. And it certainly made, yeah, I agree. I was kind of like, oh, that's a distinct
That
possibility.
works.
Yeah.
And you know how like PK and Mo are so close. It's like I could see PK being like, like I need to do, or even if even if Mo wasn't in on it, I could see him being like, break into this house too. So it looks like there's several break-ins happening. Because if it's just their house, they could be suspicious for insurance reasons. But if it's multiple houses, they're not suspicious. But why is it just Kyle's and just Dorit's houses? And Mo and PK are so close. It just doesn't.
It's
fit
weird.
for me.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So though I agree with you completely. I think I understand Dorit's side, and I also understand Garcelle's. So the reason I was saying that was, PK, right? So like I just think like he has this other part to him that's just really scary to me. Like, and I do want her to get out and sort of like have a different life without him. So and I also understand why she loves him. So in response to Kyle saying that she was coming in hot to save her job, at least at first, Dorit said, "Well, you have relationships with the executives, so how could you say or come to the conclusion that I was doing that, knowing that they had already asked me back?" And Kyle's shady answer was, "That's what I said. Like I'm not changing it. Like, which suggests that the execs didn't tell her that they were inviting her back at first, or that they also were like, yeah, she does need to save her job or something, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
She implied something like that.
Bam. Kyle, I feel like Kyle usually is able to finesse her way through situations. And I think this year she didn't do a great job at it, or people were looking at her a slightly different way. And you can see her fragility kind of come up at times where she's caught in a lie, in a way that I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen from her before, which is interesting.
She's going through a trauma right now.
Yeah.
Like, she's in active trauma mode. I mean, to go your whole life, and also because they were together their whole lives, and also to now suddenly at this age feel like you have a totally different future, like, that's traumatizing as fuck. And she's alone, which is
Yeah.
further traumatizing. Like, being alone in the house, like, isolation literally is traumatizing. So, like, I just, to me, and like the public nature of this, and the fact that she's seeing him with the girls, I mean, she looks like she's ready to cry all the time, and I actually get that completely. And I also think, like, therefore, yeah, she's wicked fragile. Yeah, she like lost her whole foundation.
And the internalized homophobia, even from Kathy. Oh my God.
Why?
That was awful.
Why is this happening?
Oh
my God, that was awful.
I felt so, I could relate to that. So it was like, this is so bad. Stop. It
Absolutely
broke my
brutal.
heart. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible moment. We'll get back to that as part of the third part. That's why the third part has so much in it, because there's so much. Like, that's in there too. The third part was like so rich. There's so much data.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely come back to that as well.
Ugh.
And then they discussed Dorit not telling her kids. And so Andy was like, are you not telling your kids because you're hoping to get back together? And she was like, no, like, that's not why. And then he says, well, do you want to get back together? And Dorit said, not as is. And then he said, are you still in love with him? And she said, yeah, he's my soul, blood, and heart.
That killed me.
So tough. So this is when Andy said, we asked PK if he wanted to appear today. He declined, but sent a statement. The statement includes, this is paraphrased, people close to us know the truth. He means about being a bad father. He's saying, I'm not a bad father. And some have asked to speak out. Some have asked to speak out, but I've asked them not to. Truth shouldn't need a champion. Then what the fuck is this, PK? Aren't you championing the truth right now? And then he goes, not stoking a fire she created, which the old Dorit wouldn't have. I just hope the new Dorit finds her way back to the person she was. The insulting bullshit in this note. Absolutely not.
It blew my mind. And I was thinking about, if I was like Dorit's therapist, I would want to, because there's it's like a kind of dissociative denial that from the beginning of that separation, she was in total denial about what was happening. And there's something there that must be a thing for her that probably has deeper roots. I don't know how or where, but there's something there that I think needs attention. And I think to start it, to get at that, I would want to point out the discrepancy between what she's saying about PK, that he's her love, he's her heart, and what PK is saying about her and how cruel it is, and like what she makes of that. I would try to keep it very open-ended, to try to integrate these two kind of parts that feel so separate to me right now.
Yeah. Seriously.
Oh, I hated that moment. It made me very sad.
That was brutal. It was brutal. And in response to it, they did talk about whether he could be insecure about her fame, which I was like, that's a good place to go next, because I agree. Like, it was a little bit traumatizing, honestly, to see her hearing that. Like, I don't know, it was just awful. And like, he just like, it was kind of childish. It was brutal. I'm really not a fan of PK. Actually, I've never been, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. That's a great therapeutic approach. And also like helping her stand in her own thing that you'd be doing there too, like giving her the autonomy to tell you what she's seeing and so forth. Andy says, do you think fame has changed Dorit? Why are we doing this? Like, obviously that's so annoying, because like, I don't like Kyle's view on Dorit right now. I think that's rude. And so I don't like that we're going back to it all the time. Kyle says, I think this season I saw Dorit I didn't know. She seemed angry, aggressive. We just saw a different side to her, because I feel like I know her so well. How do you feel like you know her so well when last season you literally said we're not even friends? What the F is that? That is such a change around. Well, I feel like I know her so well. Like, what? You literally said we only go to lunch like once or twice. Like, what? Okay. And then she goes, well, maybe it's circumstantial. Right. That's exactly what it is. And she said, and then she says, really to her, she says, I felt like you were exaggerating about me. So I felt like you could have been exaggerating about him. That's not really what you said. You kind of said like, if she's lying about him, she's kind of saying like, none of this feels right or true, which is really much more hurtful than saying like, maybe she's exaggerating a little bit. Like, like maybe she was like, well, maybe I would use like less strong words or something. Like, that's different than saying like, I think she's just doing this to turn me against him or whatever she said. But
very cruel and rude and not,
Yes.
Kyle she showed a lot of internalized sexism in her whole siding with PK this season.
PK.
I don't.
Yeah, there's something weird there for sure. I mean, I think that's why the texts seem weird, right? People are like, well, you're also siding with him a lot. So like, we're wondering what's going on.
Right.
But I also get that they really might have just had a certain kind of like, but I bet it's playful, right? Like, I bet there's a playfulness to the way they talk to each other. And she does feel like more tied to him based on like how it was going with Dorit the last couple of years. So I don't know. I get it. And also, like, it's a bummer that she can't come back to her friendship with Dorit once they tried to fix it. Like, she still didn't try to go back to the where they were. Dorit tells us that PK recently said about his sobriety, "This is something I've chosen not to discuss with you." Tell us some things.
I was thinking about I guess I interpreted it as that I was saying the non-answer, how she was essentially implying that he's drinking again, in my opinion, which was kind of shady. And I think, I don't know, I want more attention of when people don't answer what they're saying, because I think that happens on reality TV often enough where people will say, I've chosen not to talk about this, or based on legal reasons, I can't speak on this. Where you were saying
pleading the fifth
so much when you say nothing at all. Oh, there's a song about that. but it's just, I think that is a tactic. It might be a PR tactic. I'm not really sure, but
well, it's also in the courtroom, like saying I plead the fifth is instead, and normally when you say I plead the fifth, people think that you're guilty.
Right. So that when you say that, you're essentially saying that he's drinking. Like, by choosing to say that answer, you're outing him as not being sober, which is not the coolest.
Well, it's also what he's doing to her.
Yeah.
He's saying to her he's not sober too.
That's
that's also a choice, right? Yeah.
That's true. And she's choosing to share that with the audience, I guess, which is a choice.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. You could tell there was some vitriol in that. I think it was related potentially to the fact that just really like moments beforehand, she had just heard his like long, his long comments from him. So like she had just heard him being so rude about her, and then it's like then she sort of like took off the gloves a little bit. You know, I kind of got that vibe a little bit that it was related to his rude statement.
Which is
she just
fair.
seems suddenly different, right? Because she like earlier was talking about how she does still love him, and then she hears that, and then she's like, "Well, he told me that this is something I've chosen not to discuss with you, so that's on him. He told me that, so you know."
Yep. And if he's going to be so public about what's happening, I guess that makes sense. The non-answer answer, I want to pay more attention to that because it happens all the time, and it's just wild.
Yes, it is all the time.
So
diversion
much.
And yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the other thing that's tough about reality TV is that they edit it. So like it's possible people answer it and then they say another thing and then that's what they keep in, you know? So it's like
because
that's
it's
tough
more
too. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's some of that. But definitely there's sometimes where we see them like live, you can tell that they're just like there's no cut. You can tell that they just said it, which definitely happens a lot. I totally agree. Dorit said, what I really believed was going to be my future may not be. I would say probably will not be. And that realization is really fucking hard. I loved that. I think that's such a great point. And honestly, that's like Kyle. Like, I think Kyle feels like that. What I really believed was going to happen. Yeah. Was going to be my future, may not be. And that realization is really fucking hard. And then Andy, like, again, a little shady. Is your heart broken? Like, yeah, I'd say. And she says, in a million pieces. Oh, so sad.
It was so honest. I liked that answer.
Me too. It was beautiful. Yeah. The whole thing. I was like, oh. Yeah, she seemed great. She was very quick to answer. She seemed very honest. Yeah.
Concise, so Andy's not yawning. Oh my god.
Yeah. Too funny. Oh, that's funny as hell. Yeah.
But so now we switch to Bose, who had a killer season and is Dr. K's crush with I was trying to think of a hostess with the mostest crush with the mush. I don't know. A mushy crush.
With the blush? Crush with the blush?
Crush with the blush. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Yes.
My EQ crush.
Yes, exactly. And Bose said, Andy asked, did you watch the show beforehand? And she said, yes, I did. Watching it, you don't know the intricacies. TBH, I thought some of the stuff was played up, exaggerated, but they're very real. The amount of time we spend with each other is very intense. And they always kind of say that. And I kind of believe her. I don't know why. I just believe her when she says it. I don't think she just say it to say it.
No. And Jennifer Tilly, too, I believed also. I think both of them said basically the exact same thing. And I do believe both Jennifer Tilly and Bose when they say it, too. I totally agree because I think the point is like, we all I actually don't think it's played up. To me, their emotions make sense. Like, I'm like, right, that makes sense. They're together all the time, but plus the things they're upset about, like, are things that are things I understand being upset about. Maybe because I'm a therapist, I see a lot of different people with different things that make them upset, so I have a little bit more of a tolerance for that. But I also think it's internalized sexism to think that you're not, or just, internalized sexism for the women that watch this and think that it's overplayed. It's like, well, I think if you were in that same situation and had that intensity and knowing that millions of people are going to watch this, or however many actually watch it, knowing all these people are going to watch it, you'd be out of control, upset. Yeah.
Heightened. Everything is so heightened because your image is on the line. That is
You're thinking
intense.
about everyone you ever went to school with. You're thinking about everyone you ever went to school with seeing it. You're thinking about all your family members seeing it. You're thinking about your grandma seeing it. It's like you're thinking about every single thing. And then what if I say this? What happens? What if I say this? And you never know if your best moments will even be shown on the show, or if your worst moments will be too. Right. It's like, it absolutely would make it really, really tough. Really tough.
That's a high intensity situation. Gosh.
Plus, you have like fans watching you film. It's like the whole thing. You have like people right there. You have the producers. Your producers tell you certain things to make you do certain things, and then you have each other talking about things behind the back, and whatever. It's like I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Of course, it's super intense. I think. But,
I think the producers would distract the shit out of me. I'd be looking at their reactions. I would not be a good reality TV person because I'd get so easily distracted and thrown off. But it's honestly impressive that they're able to do all that they do. Like, truly.
Exactly. I agree.
Unfortunately, Bose lost her house in the Malibu fires. She mentioned that it was 25 years of hard work on the house, beyond devastating. Bose also shares that she met with Garcelle before filming. I kind of love that as two Black women, they met with each other and had that alignment. I wish we would have seen more of that.
I know. I saw them talk one time or two times maybe, but
Yeah. And it's unfair to be like, because these two share this identity, they should be friends. Obviously, that's not the case. And it did seem like there was good chemistry between them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel
both ways about that. I feel both ways. Because I also think Garcelle expected some loyalty. And I actually get that. Like, she's like, okay, another Black woman coming on, she should at least like have my back on certain things, especially someone as emotionally intelligent as Bose. And I think Garcelle in particular was like, wow, everyone loves Bose. Like, Bose had a great reaction from reception from people. And I think Garcelle wants her attention. Like, I think she wants Bose to like her. I think that's a big part of why Garcelle was upset in the finale.
And then she goes and becomes really close with the one person that Garcelle really doesn't like. That would feel like a betrayal. Now that we're saying that out loud, I'm like, yeah, that would not feel good. I can totally see that.
Right. And what you're about to say, which I'll just take because that is one of my segments, is like so this was really important that Bose said this, because she makes a point of saying, I met with Garcelle. Garcelle told me, just be open. I don't want to tell you anything about anyone. You make your own decisions. And so I took that to heart, and therefore I was inspired by that, and I came in open and became friends with Dorit, who was similarly open. And so that was such a choice narrative. Like, I thought that they were purposely put together, Dorit and Bose. I still feel that way. I think Dorit needed a friend. Right. They were worried. I think Dorit was worried she would not make it, and they were worried about Dorit not making it too, and they wanted to give her somebody to talk to so she could talk about what's going on with PK. I honestly believe that. And maybe that's not true. Maybe this narrative is true. But to me, I think that's relevant. And so I can also imagine for Garcelle, she might even know that, right? She might know that was like manipulated, but then still hope that Bose might call Dorit on some of the racism stuff. And so, like, there's still an element where I would still feel betrayed if I was Garcelle, even though that might have been manufactured. But it seemed like she was talking to her basically too. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When Garcelle said to Dorit, I'm glad you have a friend in Bose. That's a little, it did feel loaded now that I'm remembering it back.
Right. And I still feel like it wasn't to Bose. Like, it was still, so basically she's saying, like, I want a friend in Bose. I'm glad you have a friend in Bose. She didn't say, I'm glad you became friends with Dorit. She said, I'm glad you have a friend in Bose, because she likes Bose, not Dorit. And I also think, right, it was definitely loaded. And one of my segments is on, like, okay, so the segment that's relevant to what I'm talking about now basically is the racism. So, like, the sociopolitical moment thing for me is the racism against Garcelle in particular, but also racism against Bose, which did come up explicitly, but also the racism against Garcelle was more subliminal. It was a little more implicit, but very, 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 very strong. Like, the racism against Garcelle has been very strong since the beginning, but very strong in this reunion. And also in how the producers did this, which is frustrating. But yeah, so I think there's just immense racism. I'm going to come back to, like, the moments as that happens. That's my, like, long arc arc. That's my long arc point. But this is the moment where I wanted to bring up that like some of the racism I think she was experiencing was also like her experience of what it would be like to have another Black person on set, and then also like assuming that they would be friends, right? And feeling like she was trying to like be close with Bose and thought it was going well. Like I think she thought like we're gonna always have this thing together, you know, like under here we're always gonna have this thing. So in moments where Bose doesn't publicly back Garcelle, it just feels like a betrayal because she's like, wait, I thought we had this thing where like we've always had this like when we meet together we just kiki together, like we're different than everyone else, which they are. They have a different conversation, which is something I mentioned a long time ago. And it's really exciting. I love that. But then so I think that piece of it is tough because there is like an allyship. And then just the ways, I mean, obviously you're right. Like just because you're both Black doesn't mean you should assume you're friends. But at the same time, there is a type of like a shared experience that I do get why Garcelle would sort of feel like, you know, especially with Dorit being the person. And especially with Sutton sucking so much as an ally, right? She has no one suddenly. She has no one based on skin, no one based on friendship, no one based on, you know, whatever. So.
Yeah, Sutton is very kind of focused on herself and tries to be focused on Garcelle, but is not so successful all the time.
No, she's not.
Ugh.
So I guess it's like I'm sort of saying like I'll be talking about the racism against both of them, and that like part of what sucks about that is that they could have sort of like worked together about that, and it seems like that might have been what Garcelle expected, and that's sad.
It's kind of heartbreaking for her that she got her hopes up and then was disappointed.
Yeah.
Aww. I didn't think about the Bose element of what was going on for her, and that must have felt extra tough.
Fucked actually too. Like I'll come back to that a little bit in like specific moments. This was the first one where I was like, oh, like, you know, sort of interesting what's happening here. Like I think this was Garcelle's plug to Bose to be like, because when she said I'm glad you have a friend in Bose, I think that was her way of saying like, Bose, hi, like I do like you. I hope you're gonna
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
And then Bose said there was a belief I was being manipulated. This is insulting. If you think there was something she could say that would change how I feel about you, then you don't think highly of yourself. I think Bose was essentially saying, like, if I'm remembering correctly, the latent content, like, I'm a smart woman. I'm not so easily manipulated. And I see Dorit for who she is. I don't think she's perfect. And I like her. I like her energy, whatever it was that kind of brought them together.
Right. And I think also because they don't show who exactly she's talking to, but it's pretty clear she's talking to Garcelle. To me, it's like clear she's talking to Garcelle.
Yeah.
And I think she's saying to Garcelle, like, you think that I don't like you because Dorit poisoned me against you, but that's not what happened. Like, I would like you, even if she tried to say something, I would still like you. So if you think that she could sway me, then you don't think enough of yourself. Which is like such a tough response to her saying, I'm glad you have a friend in Bose. Like for Bose to then be like, you think I'm being manipulated? It's not that. Like, which if Garcelle's feeling in that moment, like Bose doesn't like her, for Bose to be like, it's not Dorit who's doing this, it's me. That would hurt even more.
Yeah. And then she started getting really upset. Ugh. Damn Bose.
I know, and I love Bose, but I think she missed a little bit what's happening there. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe has her own stuff there. Yeah. I don't know. Damn.
It keeps coming too. There's a lot of it.
Oh, this is an interesting angle on this because I was thinking more about the historical racism from all of the women.
Which is also huge. Yeah.
It's also like the death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing.
Literally. And that's my like story arc is like the 1,000 cut. I have like little bullet points where I'm like, this is a cut. This is a cut. Like I get there's so many things that happen in the reunion alone. And Garcelle was trying so hard. And I just like feel so sad because I totally get what was happening. And I get all of her facial expressions. Like all of it. I'm like, yep, I get that. That sucks. Like, you know, there's a lot of it. Okay. I won't talk as much each time though, because then I'll just be able to tell you quickly as I go.
This is breaking my heart.
I know.
As I'm seeing this part of it, I'm like, wow. Kyle remembers coming to Bose's room in Oceanside, which Bose, I guess, doesn't remember. And I think
No, please.
What was going on there again? Yeah. Kyle was talking about like, their dynamic or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, you came to my room and Bose was like, I don't remember that. You didn't come to my room. And she's like, yeah, I came to your room and I thought we were like good together kind of thing. But the thing, so I gave this to something that I think we as psychologists wish people knew more about, which is actually something we talked about, which is that I think she blacked out like what happened the first few weeks because to Bose, this is extremely intense. Like it's so intense. She's brand new to this. She's realizing this is actually real. She's realizing these emotions are real. She has these emotions. So I just wanted to say that like times of severe stress like that are basically like little traumas. Like her brain is not storing all of the memories because it's too intense and she can't process it fully. And that's all of us. So like I think filming for a lot of people, for example, we hear this all the time with The Bachelor, that when they come out of the limo, everyone blacks out. Like no one remembers what happens when they got out of the limo and they met the person for the first time because it's a little trauma. It's a baby trauma that happened during that moment because it was just too much. Imagining everyone watching this, imagining how there's so much pressure on you, imagining the host cares, imagining that the person cares. So the same thing with Bose. And I understood why she didn't remember. And I just want to take that opportunity to say that, like, I get that this is so intense, as we said earlier.
Yeah. Oh, I love, yeah, the blackout that happens with reality TV, the little traumas. I like that a lot.
Traumas, right? The little baby traumas. Exactly.
Yes.
And for Garcelle, there's been a lot of that in particular.
Hmm.
So this is also a problem. And when we focus on Garcelle, this is the last subsection of the first part. It starts with a montage that really focused on Garcelle like calling it how it is. And I'm not saying that she doesn't call it how it is. I think she does, like particularly straight to the camera. But there's something like I felt a little bit implicitly racist about that.
Yes.
Being like, look, she's like,
Yes.
right? It seemed like a little bit like,
Yes.
you know, angry black woman or whatever, or like just sassy. It's actually more sassy black friend vibe. It's like the Sapphire version of the controlling image. Yeah. So I just really was like, and then it's just tough way to start. And then it was racist from the producers. Then Erica says that Garcelle and right away basically, but Erica basically says Garcelle and Sutton need to share more about their lives. And Garcelle essentially gets to the point where she's like, what else can I say? I say as much as I can. And then Kyle hops in and she's like, well, I had the same reaction to Garcelle saying that I don't share. And then they recap a fight really between Kyle and Sutton. It was really between Kyle and Sutton in the fight, the recap. But then Garcelle also ends up saying it too, like, you need to share more about yourself, because they were talking about Morgan potentially, I think. So Garcelle then, in this real time, says that she thinks the fact Morgan was on the show last year makes it harder to keep her out of it now. Great point. That's solid. Great point. She brings up what Sutton said after Kyle came to talk to them both about it off camera. And she's like, well, you know what you said about, so like Sutton said that something about this herself about why when Kyle came to talk to us about the fact that Morgan wanted to be off camera. And Sutton says, yeah, like I said, like, well, she doesn't want to talk about Morgan. She clearly doesn't want to talk about Morgan. Garcelle was like, no, you did not. You said that was a chess move, which is such a big difference and important. And I can feel like right there, like another little baby cut, because one thing is we'll come back to Sutton's reaction to that moment, but also to Garcelle, she's sort of like, you didn't even like go there with me. Like, what are we doing here? Like, aren't we having each other's backs here? Or like, can't you admit can't you take accountability for your part of this? Right? Like, interesting thing, right? Actually, that's Sutton not taking accountability, but it is Garcelle taking accountability. So pause on that. We'll come back to it. So then it becomes about Dorit's break-in, about which Garcelle also takes accountability. Dorit says, you've not stopped talking about it, and it's based on no evidence or no reason. And Garcelle said, well, then I'm wrong, and I'm sorry it hurts you, but this is how I feel. It's just a feeling. And so, like, right there, she's taking accountability, right? That's her taking accountability right in this moment. Bose says in response to that, I think it's dangerous of you to say that. I think it's very, very dangerous to say. And I can't remember if this was from the reunion or outside of it, but also apparently, no, I think it was the reunion. Bose said, I would have sued you if you said that about me. So that's like a big deal. Like, Bose, like, kind of said some things to Garcelle at the end of that. And that was right after, right? If you think about it, that was right after Garcelle was feeling abandoned. Oh my God. I saw that part and I was like, no.
It's so complicated because I'm thinking about it too. And it's like,
right. She should be able to be honest about it. Both should be able to say that.
Yes. And like Garcelle saying that, it's a complicated thing to say.
Bad, yeah. But she owned it. I mean, she owned it right here, right? Like, and I think what she probably should have said, and I think you brought that up earlier too, is like, I'm sorry I said that in the way that I said it. She said, I'm sorry it hurts you. But how about like, I'm sorry I said it like that. And like, I think, I have thoughts about it that aren't really related to you. And I shouldn't probably have brought it up in this setting, but it's how I feel, but I shouldn't have brought it up in this. There's like a way to sort of like finesse it a little more, but I still appreciate that she said, I'm sorry-ish, like kind of that it hurts you, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, but this, whatever. It wasn't perfect, but I definitely think she's taking accountability for it. She's owning that she thinks it. And then I also get Bose saying that because it is dangerous of her to say that, frankly, right? Like there's a lot that could come from that because they could lose the insurance money or, and I get that. I also think, in particular, the stuff between Garcelle and Bose gets really tough right in that moment for me watching it. I think it's really a major sort of like hit for Garcelle. And she's sort of,
Black woman who she respects after she's put up with all this shit from all these women, and then to have this Black woman that she respects like disagreeing with her feels
in
bad.
very strong language, just like language that is like fair, absolutely. And I love when that's the other racism that happens. I actually don't know where it is in the notes, but or actually, if I think it ended up because I had to cut a lot of this down. Trust me, it was like 12 pages to start with. But I wanted to make sure we brought it up at some point too. Was that Bo's saying like, because I think somebody was like, that was a strong reaction. She said, "I'm a strong woman." I love that. That was fantastic, and that was racist the way that they were talking about Bo's, which I hated.
Yes, that
so
was
bad.
Sutton, and I hated that. That was really
Sutton's
bad.
racism is all over the place.
And that's probably was like Garcelle tracking that too and being like, damn, this is my only person, is this person. Like, ugh.
And not agreeing with her about that at all. And like that, and she didn't agree with her out loud either, which I appreciated about that. Like that was Sutton's thing to fall on. And yeah, it just was like really tough. So I don't want to say, and I don't, the language itself, not the way that she says it. And she's like, I think Bose is very measured in general, but also it wouldn't matter. She's allowed to have all sorts of feelings and emotions. And it doesn't mean that she's any sort of image of Black person at all. Like it's about her as an individual. And she saying it's dangerous of you to say, it's very, very dangerous. That is something that like I think would kind of strike Garcelle a little bit. Like, it's just like that, or that I would sue you, right? Like both of those things are not really even what Dorit said. So I think I understand where she would sort of take that on deck, and I think she would take it on deck. Like I think she wouldn't have said anything back or like been rude about it at all. Like I think she just took it on deck and sort of felt terrible about it, and also felt like abandoned by Bose. I think in that way a little bit too, but sort of like seemed to understand it a little bit or something. So then it cuts back to the cast talking in their rooms, and Garcelle is talking to Sutton, of course, and she's voicing her frustration with the group. Suddenly we see that like she's quite mad, right? Like and understandably so. And so she's saying things like, fuck them, I hate them all, they all hate, like, or she says, I fuck them, I hate them. And then Sutton says, basically she's like entirely concerned with herself, but she ends up saying to Garcelle, pleased
that she hasn't gotten shit yet. I think Garcelle was kind of saying, I thought they were going to come harder for you. And Sutton's just over there, like, very pleased with herself and then Garcelle's like, damn, going through this big trauma.
Right. She's gone through the worst of it already. And she's unhappy and like understandably unhappy, very unhappy with them. And they do suck. Like, honestly, I completely agree with her. The way that was handled was horrible. And I felt so bad for her about how that was handled. So she's voicing her frustration to Sutton, and Sutton literally like brings up that Garcelle blindsided her. Like, what? I was like, I'm sorry. What? Did you just hear what Garcelle said and like how Garcelle is feeling? And I think she's talking about Garcelle saying, you said to Kyle about Kyle, that's a chess move.
Right.
It's like, which like, right. But you know what she was also doing was like inviting you to take accountability. And you know what else you're doing right now is like making it about yourself. And you're also like blaming her. And you also tried to lie about what happened and like make Garcelle look bad when you said what you said. So like, I just was like, ooh, missed the whole thing there, Sutton. Missed the whole thing.
And because Sutton idolizes Kyle and wants Kyle's approval. And how annoying is that when Garcelle has been such a good friend to her? Ugh.
And I like Garcelle more than Kyle. I personally would be like so pleased if Garcelle was my friend. I would be so pleased. And same with
Sutton
Bose,
should
I like
be
them both so much.
Yeah, Sutton should be so pleased. I like Kyle too. I think Kyle might be a fun hang at times. And I haven't liked her this season very much.
Yeah,
but.
Right. That's fair. Yeah, the season's been tough, but she's been suffering. But yeah, I don't know. I think I feel complicated about Kyle in general. But I would like to hang with all of them. They seem fine to hang with. I do think Garcelle and Bose are my favorite though, by far. Like a mile. So that's it. That brings us to part 2. So take us away on part 2.
Ooh, yes. Let me go down. Sorry. So
now that I've given my like opening thesis too, this part will be faster because I can sort of refer back. Yeah. Okay.
I love your thesis on that sort of relational miss being like the final cut that just shot her down. I love that. I think that feels true to me.
Right.
Yeah. So next, the focus is on Kyle and then Kyle and Dorit. And Kyle ends up apologizing for being mad at Dorit for what she said at Watch What Happens Live, because clearly she wasn't hearing it properly. And maybe watching it back again, she was like, oh, maybe Dorit wasn't. I don't even remember what it was about, but
she said it was Dorit said like all that Dorit really said was that Morgan being around made Kyle less close with Dorit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that. And if Kyle doesn't think they're that close anyway, why would that offend her so much?
That's why she said that. Exactly. That's why Kyle was like, we're not even friends. Who cares?
Ugh. And then Andy and Dorit cutting off Kyle as she defends Morgan for not wanting to be on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It is a little, I mean, I think I think Andy was highlighting a hypocrisy of like, they kind of started this fire by doing that music video. That's kind of what put it out there and got the buzz going. And it seems like Morgan was overwhelmed by the attention, which is also fair. And Kyle has been not sharing, which I genuinely think is internalized homophobia. I don't think it's because of the press, or I think it's probably 80-20. I think it's mostly like her internalized homophobia, and I think it's been really hard for her. I can feel that when she's talking.
She's
but
still
I think,
figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think Andy's right, though, and that there was this... They did
Isn't that
start
kind of
this
blamey,
fire.
though? I feel like it's a little blamey. Like, I feel like, I'm like, I don't know. They did the music video. I don't think Kyle knew she felt that way about Morgan until the music video. Like, I think them filming the music video is what Kyle got excited about Morgan from. Like, if you watch it, they're both like in lingerie and they're like almost kissing, they're feeding each other food. And it's meant to be like silly. But I think that's actually what made Kyle realize, like, maybe I do like her more than that. Like, at first they're making fun of people saying that because they're not like that. But then they filmed the video together and like, wait, maybe I do feel like that. So then it became like a problem, but not because they, like I really believe they were making fun of it at first. I don't think that they were like that at first. So to me, it's sort of like, I don't know, I kind of happy for her. I feel like she needed to do the video to figure it out, that she actually is kind of into Morgan and into women a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of crummy. I get it though. I understand what you're saying. And it is a choice. And I think she could come out and say like, right, I understand that. But like at the time I really was making fun of it because I was like, that's not even true. But like once I did it, I was sort of like, oh, and she kind of does say that a little bit later, but.
She, I think, is probably very coached and intentionally vague because she doesn't want to give a lot of this away, which is fair and is totally her right. And Morgan changing her mind about wanting to be publicly Kyle's friend is also valid. Like, it's all very valid. And I've never been in a position like that. So who even fucking, like, I know Maggie Rogers wrote whole songs about, trying to become a famous musician, and then Pharrell discovered her and she blew up overnight and she was not ready for how big she got and how stressful that was. It feels kind of similar. And then there's a part of me when I listen to those songs that kind of rolls my eyes, but I think that's kind of harsh, right? Because it's not my experience.
Everyone I've ever heard talk about fame has said they preferred it before they were famous. Like, it sounds like being famous actually fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of fame, and it comes up multiple times, that Real Housewife fame is totally different and actually like quite troubling. So I get it. And also consent, friends. Like, Morgan has to give consent to be on the show. If she doesn't want to give consent anymore, that's her right. We all have the right to remove consent from any situation, by the way, and that does make it assault if you're not respected in that way, regardless of where you are in whatever situation and who you're with. They have to respect your consent at any time. It has to be ongoing and enthusiastic. That's what I like to say about consent. Ongoing and enthusiastic. So if Morgan's no longer feeling consenting and enthusiastic about it, then that's her right. Get out of there. I agree.
Absolutely. And it seems like Kyle was genuinely trying to respect that, and also to probably protect herself as she's figuring this whole thing out, which is very complicated and not easy. Yeah. And Kyle finally says, I didn't get in trouble. I just couldn't deal with one more thing on top of everything. What was that? Get in trouble with Morgan. That's right. Yeah.
And that's what I meant about the cutting off part too. Like, Andy and Dorit kept cutting her off, and she finally got frustrated enough. She was like, I didn't get in trouble. Like, because they kind of both were like, well, maybe Morgan, And right, like, I think it was Morgan's choice, but I don't think it's that she got mad at Kyle. I think she just decided, like, I don't think I can do this. It's a different kind of fandom. I don't feel it. Like, the fans coming to my concerts are actually like totally not the right people or whatever, right? Like, it could have changed her concerts too. Like, I get it.
That's a tough thing.
Yeah.
And Dorit and Kyle both think, Andy asked, can you both get there with each other? And they said it's a work in progress. And I actually believe that. I think that they can get back to their friendship before whatever it was. But
I think it was better before the text gate happened, which is our next section. That you should do this too, by the way, because it's part of the Dorit Kyle stuff.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, the text gate stuff is like where I think shit went awry again. I think it was working again for a minute, and then now it's like, whoop. Yeah.
So Kyle explains the text to PK, and I don't know why she's still defending herself. She clearly lied and underplayed it. Just own that you underplayed it because you personally didn't think it was a big deal. And that's what happened. But maybe now you can see it from a different perspective. Or, like, if she would have said that, done. But her, like, doubling down is so annoying. Like, I don't know.
It is annoying.
Kyle explains the text to PK, saying that it was in response to the separation announcement and about not telling production what she and PK talk about. And it seems like Erica believes her. I don't know if I believe her. I bet they talk about Dorit. I bet they find her annoying together, and that's a bonded experience. That's what I think.
Like, I bet he talks shit about her and Kyle acts like she's backing Dorit. That's my version of it in my head. Like, I bet she lets PK talk shit all he wants, but she'll just sort of be like, well, what if she's thinking this? Like, acting as if she had Dorit's back, but like, not really, you know?
Mm-hmm. Half-ass. Yep. And yeah, Erica agreed, and someone said no one thought it was insidious. And Bone says whether it's about production or whatever else, it sounded like there are secrets, which I think Bose is saying just own it, and it wouldn't be so weird.
Yeah.
And Kyle said if the roles were reversed and Mo and Dorit were texting, it would bother him, yes, or it would bother her, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Bose
which is a great point.
Yeah. So, and hopefully gives her some insight to why it was annoying and upsetting. Bose told Kyle to block PK. If I were Kyle, I'd probably be like, I'm not going to do that. You can't tell me who to block. And I think Bose was being a good friend to Kyle, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Bose said on a podcast, Kyle is a liar. And Bose,
like Andy brought that up.
Yeah. Yes. And Bose said there were lies told and omission. Again, the lies by omission thing. What you don't say can be a lie. You said it was just jokes and memes, and later it came out it was more than that. She was downplaying it. And then she got so upset and was crying because she knew she was caught in a lie. So it was that whole thing.
Right. Which Dorit brings up at some point. I took it out because, again, I had to cut down so much. But Dorit brings that up, too. She's like, if you had just told me, yes, I text PK sometimes, that would have been fine. But you didn't. And you got so upset that, like, it looked a lot worse.
Yes, exactly. You made it a bigger thing than it needed to be. Kyle said, or Andy said, have you texted with PK since? Kyle said, I texted when Jagger was in the hospital. So then I was like, why was Jagger in the hospital?
What is
Yeah,
what's going on in the news? They might have been in the news or something. It almost seemed like we should have known.
Yeah, I was confused. But Dorit tells us she's known every single thing. PK tells her every time Kyle calls and texts him. That's interesting.
I was like, how do you know every time? Then why did you? She was so worried, right? I was sort of like, what? Weren't you like surprised she was texting him like the memes and stuff? I don't know. That was sort of like I was surprised by that. I wasn't really sure what that meant.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe she was trying to reassert her relationship or something. It was confusing. And maybe it's shifted since PK saw the show. I don't know. But it totally was, that is weird. Yeah. After Oceanside, you went back and called him, and Kyle said to PK after Oceanside, just so you know, there's a huge drama and a fight all about whatever. Kyle apologized. This was seemingly meaningful, which was good. Mm-hmm. And Dorit said that was all she could ask for, which is fair.
Yeah, solution. Love it. Yeah, I thought that was a nice ending to that. Then Jay Tilly comes out, Jennifer Tilly. I call her Jay Tilly, so it's actually going to be easier to say Jay Tilly because I say it all the time.
I like it.
So Jay Tilly. As she gets ready for her time, this is one of my favorite moments as well. As she's getting ready for her time, Dorit runs over to pick Jay Tilly's shirt up over her boobs, which, by the way, I wasn't 100% sure needed to happen. Like, if she wants to, like, leave her boobs out like that, whatever, as long as her, whatever. Like, I mean, actually, I don't care if her nipples are out either, but people might care about that on TV. But, so, you're right. So Dorit runs over and picks her shirt up, and Jay Tilly goes, I know what you're doing. And it was so funny. I love that reference. It was to Denise Richards.
Oh, right. Right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. And that was funny.
It was so funny. I like died. I was like, good reference. Yes.
She's a fan.
So funny. I love it. Yeah, she's a fan. We definitely saw her fandom there. And also, that's something I mentioned before too. I can't remember. I think it was on the show maybe, but I loved that moment in that season, or when that happened in the season it was in. I think it was last season. I loved that moment. I thought it was so funny the way that went down. And I really liked Denise Richards, and I also think she was definitely like really stoned or whatever was happening that day. Because other times she's not at all like that.
She was high.
But she just she had a tough night that night. Tough night. So in other words, I made that also one of my something I've mentioned before because I mentioned that before. Andy's intro about Jay Tilly, he like calls her one of their most decorated friends of, which I thought was sweet because she's definitely in many movies and also Jessica Rabbit and something. I think actually the video game though. I like looked it up. I was like, oh, okay. So Jay Tilly talks about what is she talking about? She talks about how real it is, just like Bose. She's like, it's really real. But I really liked what she brought up was how people say different things now that she's not just a movie star. So she was basically saying like people used to run up to me and say hi and then run away, but now they say move over, let's kiki. And she brought up that it's very different than being famous from movies or shows, which I thought was a great point. Like it speaks to how difficult it is for like Real Housewives and reality television people in general because people feel like they know them. So they run over, they want to hang out, they feel like they can have a good conversation with you because they feel like they know you well, but they don't know that person. So like I feel like it must be hard as a reality TV person to be like, I don't know you, friend. Like it's nice that we're having this conversation, but like I don't know you. I don't know how to react to you.
Right.
So I really, and also if you're just trying to have lunch, like tough. You must constantly be worried about where you are and what's happening. So I think that's part of the thing people hate about being famous in general is like being seen and you can't go anywhere without people rushing up to you. Like, you know, who talks about that a lot is Macaulay Culkin about people running up to him when he was a kid and it like fucked him up.
Too much.
Full-blown adults being like, and like doing that thing and stuff.
All the frickin' time.
Scary, right? Like for real. So I think the fact it's even worse for people who are in reality TV is tough. So I was glad she brought that up. I like that Jay Tilly brought that up. So then they also brought up the fact she always has candy with her. And she said, I have food anxiety. I thought that was really interesting because no one really picked up on that or followed through on that. But I think that's actually, if she means it, or like if she's not like using that, right? Like it's sort of that thing. I think she meant it. Like to me, it was like she has food anxiety. She's worried she won't have it in a moment when she needs it. And like that I think was really important if that's something she's bringing attention to. Jay Tilly said on the after show, this came up. This is a big problem that we talked about for a minute. And it also comes to some real serious racism that I really have problems with. So this is like part of my overall socio-political thing. So she said on the after show that she was surprised PK was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel because it's so expensive. She threw some shade. She's like, well, they have no money. So like, why is he staying there kind of thing was the idea. So she sort of like, you know, people were like sort of laughing even maybe a little bit about it. But then Dorit was like, well, I've always loved you. But I saw some of your comments and it was like you had joined and Jennifer Tilly says dark side, which is also like Garcelle's on the side you're talking about. So that's racist right there.
Right.
Dorit seems to notice that almost. So she like pauses and then says the witches of Eastwick, which like also feels shitty. And also, by the way, witches wear black. So they're just going to mention that as well. But it's a little bit less bad than dark side, I reckon. But witches is also like saying bitches. Let's just start there as well. So sexist and fucking rude.
Which
so
is like,
I didn't like any of that.
The narrative that Garcelle and Sutton are the mean girls, they are clearly not the like people with power or stat. And they're not the people with like if that group was a high school clique, they would not be like the cool girls with status. No, it's fucking Kyle and Dorit and whatever the fuck and Erica. It always has been those three. So to insinuate that Garcelle and Sutton are the mean girls is really unfair to me because it just doesn't feel true at all.
I have to agree. And like even if she's not insinuating they're the like popular ones, she might still be insinuating that like therefore the people with less power are the witches, you know, which is sort of like also not good.
It's weird. Yeah. They have the least power in the group. So to be like you're the problems is like it's just not right.
I felt like she joined them because the thing that's weird is like Jay Tills was always closer with Sutton. She came in friends with Sutton. So like how did she join anything? And then on top of that, it's like Sutton, to me, Sutton can be mean. To me, Sutton, there are ways in which I think she's so self-referential that it can come across as quite mean how she is. I don't feel that way about Garcelle at all.
No.
I think the comment she made about maybe PK having like staged the break-in and that it started out sounding like she meant Dorit, that was tough, but it wasn't like she was trying to be nasty. Like she was just expressing a feeling. Yeah. So like I have a real hard time with that narrative as well. So already now like Garcelle's hearing this feeling like, oh, I'm the like witches of Eastwick over here. And then Jennifer says she didn't even know what she had said during the after show until Garcelle said, ooh. And she like made a really rough voice, like really like actually quite mean. Like, and she's blaming Garcelle. She's like, even though it's not like, even though she's not, she's actually saying, Garcelle, help me understand it. She's also actually saying like, well, Garcelle, you know, and she uses it in kind of a negative way. And I think Jennifer does voice acting, right? She was like Jessica Rabbit. So I think she uses funny voices to imitate people. I think that's just like part of her life. That's just like a thing she does, right? She has Simpsons background, everything with her ex-husband. But I think in this case, it felt a little racist. It felt a little bit blaming Garcelle. It felt like, you know, it just was like, oh, I don't love that. I don't love it. Yeah. The way, she's like almost making fun of the way that Garcelle thought it was a problem or something. I don't know. It just was like, I didn't like it.
There's been a couple moments like that with Jennifer Tilly Even though she's also a person of color, but in a
Okay, thank you. That's helpful too. Yeah.
white
Yeah.
presenting and kind of a different, also,
Yeah.
I think Asian, right? So maybe some model
I actually
minority
don't
stuff.
even know what her race is, which is great that you're bringing that up because we should look it up. I think
Yeah.
the other thing too is like it is still like internalized racism, right? Like it's
Right.
racism. But like there is definitely there's some internalized racism happening. Oh, it's both. Actually, you know what? I'm actually going to call it racism because it's not her race.
Yep, it is a different. Yep, absolutely.
So I think there's that problem, and it's definitely like anti-black. Okay, yeah, great. So her father was Chinese American, and her mom was Irish, Finnish, and Native American descent. So Native. That's awesome. But yeah, exactly. I think also being white presenting means there's a colorism issue here. It's quite big.
Absolutely. Oof. And then we've got Kathy coming out. Speaking of anti-East Asian racism, Kathy says, someone in Italy said Kathy was Chinese from 3000 BC based on learning her Northern Italian name. It makes no sense. No. She didn't know anything about me. And then someone, was it Andy, said clearly
Andy.
she thought you were Asian.
Andy.
It was why, like, she gets away with a lot of shit, but I think because she's so wacky and like she wouldn't exactly pass a mental status exam. She's just like a silly rich lady who can get away with anything. And it's mostly funny and sometimes not, I think.
She would pass a mental status exam. I think she just has this like, I think she knows what she's doing about that. Like, and that like her way of dealing with things that are uncomfortable is to laugh and make jokes. And so sometimes those are where it gets like rough, you know, but yeah. I mean, this is like a choice. The story is a choice, but I don't think it's like delusional per se. I think she had this experience, but it's just wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to bring it up in this setting as well.
There are times where she feels disconnected from reality to me, but yeah, she probably would pass a mental status exam, but it's just a little like, I don't know. There's something about the way that she approaches the world that I'm like, feels like you're missing a lot, or just, I guess, just in your own kind of little world.
Yeah.
Which
she definitely does miss a lot.
Yes.
I love that Andy was like, clearly she said you were Asian. Like, obviously she didn't know you well.
Yeah. That is a bizarre thing for anyone to say. And Erica asked who's the most, this comes up every season, and Erica has a bee in her bonnet about this often. And so I think there's something here. And she says Sutton followed by Garcelle. I don't see Garcelle as sucking up to Kathy. I don't think I've ever seen that.
At all.
No.
I've never seen that. And this felt like another cut.
Yep. Another little cut.
For Garcelle.
I think Sutton probably does. That tracks to me. But
I feel like Dorit does too.
I was just thinking that. I bet Dorit also does because she's so status obsessed. And then
also we saw them having that conversation where when Kathy was getting glam or something, and that looked very much like sucking up to me. But.
Yeah. And then Erica said this before, I think, and she said it again. I was asked a shady question. I gave a shady answer. And Sutton said there was no sucking up.
Which was like close to being for both of them, but it felt much more about her. Like I still felt like that was not really totally defending Garcelle. But yeah. So then Sutton's portion, and that will take us through the end of today. So Sutton's turn, the recap for her focuses on the Best Friends for Life ceremony, being followed by many examples of her kicking women when they're down. So this is where this is another place where some shit turns really quickly for Garcelle. So Garcelle agrees when Andy asks Garcelle if Bose overreacted when the women were staying in the foyer at Dorit's. So Andy's like, do you think Bose overreacted? Garcelle was like, yeah, I do. And Bose says, how? And then she goes, the problem, and then she says to Sutton, like, the problem is you never take accountability. A little later, Sutton ends up saying, okay, well, I can learn from that. Like, meaning like, you know, okay, I understand that's the thing I did or whatever. And Bose goes, now that's taking accountability. And that's so painful for Garcelle, who like literally took accountability about the house thing, about the house break-in. And to her, she's like, Sutton doesn't ever take accountability. Sutton's the one who doesn't take accountability. So how can you say that to Sutton, who's like actually racist, by the way? She's like my ally kind of, but she's quite racist. So you can say that about her, but you can't say that about me when I took accountability. I took accountability. And instead you told me you would sue me. I took accountability and you told me you'd sue me. She took accountability and you said that's taking accountability. Yeah. To me, like, I think the piece, like, so I think that was like, whoa, really bad for Garcelle. I think that honestly, like, stuck and sticks with her because she ends up coming back to that, which I think is also really important, which is why I highlight this as an important moment. She ends up saying, like, we talk about accountability and da-da-da. And I was like, oh, Bose talked about accountability, actually. It's like that was something she complimented Sutton on. And so I
Wow.
think that's part of why I could tell there was something going on with Bose for Garcelle. But also I felt like this moment, in addition to that, I think what Garcelle might be missing is that Bose is holding Garcelle to a higher standard. Like, I think she thinks higher of Garcelle and assumes that Garcelle can do those things, but doesn't think Sutton can do those things. And so she's trying to teach her in those moments.
Yeah, and maybe for Garcelle, she needs to hear it because she's just been brought down so many times and
she
needs
thinks
to
Bose
see it
doesn't like her.
publicly. Yeah. Ugh. And Bo's got all this like fan support, and yeah, that's tough. That's a tough.
I hate it. I feel so bad because I love Bose too. And I don't think
Yeah,
Bose
of
is like doing
course.
any of this intentionally. Like, I understand all
No.
of these things. I understand her
Mhm.
side, I understand Garcelle's. I think in this case, it's like it just was another factor that just was like absolutely too much. So I
Yeah.
totally get that. I think for Bose, she didn't even really see it. Like, I think she really does feel like they have that thing underneath that's their thing.
Mhm.
And I think Garcelle was right to assume that prior, but I think she hoped that it would come out in this setting at least.
Of course.
And it didn't. And in fact, it went the
Yeah.
opposite. It just was sort of like, okay, so everyone's coming against me. Like, of course the fans are going to come against me if you're all coming against me.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's so sad. Okay, and then the last little chunk of two little chunks here, but mostly it's between Sutton and Dorit from here on out. First, it's the recap of Dorit talking about her kids and Sutton interrupting so insensitively, so rudely. Sutton though takes that moment to say, "Well, production told me to interrupt Dorit, but it's how you did it." Like, people were like, "But it's really about the manner in which you did say that thing. Like, it wasn't that you said the thing." And Dorit said, this is where it gets a little spicy, and I love it really very, very much. Dorit says, "Aren't you Miss Manners? Where's that beady-eyed woman? That is not who shows up. That is definitely not who was here. That is not who shows up, and that is definitely not who was here all season long." About her there. Beady-eyed woman is like a little much. I think that one I didn't need. But I think also her point is well taken, which is like Sutton was not herself at the reunion. That was not how she is. It was like very buttoned up. So Sutton said, "Well, where's the woman that said the C word?" And Dorit said, "I'm right here." I actually loved it.
She was
I loved
going
it.
for it.
Oh my God. It was so good. And then there was the recap of Get a Wallet That Fits, right? Which was like very, very rude. And actually I felt like Sutton did take accountability for that. She knew that was awful. She did say the wrong thing. That was one of the areas, by the way, where Kathy tried to help out. She's like, "You did tell me that you regretted that." It's like, right, Kathy, we just established that, but thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Dorit. So then, like in response to the comment, Dorit says to Sutton, "Well, you don't exactly live like the Queen of Sheba. You live on a fucking main road." I was like, I don't know, I love it.
Shady.
And then Andy was like, yeah, it was so wild. And then Andy said, like, "So she lives in a street front in Bel Air? Like, that's so bad? Like, isn't that expensive?" And I imagine it's quite expensive. But Dorit was like, "I don't want to live on a fucking main road. And my life is full of love." Like, so I couldn't remember. I like, honestly, the fucking, like, her swearing, I was like, I love it. So this part I couldn't remember if Dorit said this also, or if Sutton jumped in and said this. So you might remember, but then somebody, I thought it might have been Dorit still, said, "But you have to be nice in order to get love." I think it might have been somebody to her, because then Dorit goes on to say, "I know you're used to buying people and buying gifts, but there's a lot more to it than that."
Which
A choice. And Sutton says, "Oh, who have I tried to buy, honey?" And Dorit goes, "Oh, here she comes. Here she comes."
And that was good. It was good.
I loved it so much. I just absolutely loved it. I was like, Dorit, oh my God, yes. Like, and even like not like say nothing. Oh my God. I was like turning up the heat. And also like, I also felt like she like, I've never seen that. I've just never seen her like that. I honestly was like just so into it. And even if it wasn't Sutton, but it was kind of even better that it was Sutton, because I have like a lot of issues with how Sutton has dealt with things lately, particularly Garcelle. So I kind of loved it.
Yeah. Here she is.
God, it was
here she comes.
Here she comes.
Yeah.
Here she comes. And they started the next part of the reunion with it too. I was like, I love it.
It was good.
So
it
that's
was
how
a
they
nice
end the
little
second part.
Pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what good 2 parts of show here. What good 2 parts of the reunion.
Yes. We did the
so
thing.
much happened even there.
Wow.
We're not going to do a check-in next time too, so that'll hopefully help with the timing, because this is quite a long episode already, but some of it was check-in for sure.
Indeed.
And us like rambling about work.
And dolphins.
And dolphins. Living
and dead.
Dead or alive.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh, what a joy. Okay, loving it. Love the Dorit energy. Loving that, Sutton's being held accountable for some things. I love how Bose is as well. I just wish it was also a little bit more attuned to Garcelle.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And we'll talk more about that, because a lot more happens in the third part. It's quite detailed because of that. There's so much there. So You can find us on Instagram and stuff, but I'm going to start with patreon.com/reality test, capital R&T. And you can also do like search in the search bar at reality test. Then we're on Instagram at Dr. Ray Pods and at Dr. K Pods. You can also find us on TikTok at Dr.realitv, REALITV. And then also on Facebook and YouTube at Reality Test Pod. And our email is realitycheckpodding@gmail.com.
And rate, review, subscribe. It will help more people find us and help us to do this thing that we enjoy so much.
Yes, and tell all your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like taking that from you lately because I don't want to forget it, but that's your thing. Like I like that you say that thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But at this point, we just enjoy doing this thing. So yeah, do help us out and check out our Patreon for $5 a month, and maybe for free for a year if you do it at some point before many other people do it. So we will get to see both each other and you next session.
Bye.
Bye, friends.